news platform called VGN, which you can see on the background. If you just go to facebook.com, type in VGN in the search bar, see it on Twitter as well, and Instagram. Once again, doing it solid. I'm asking you to do a lot of work, I know. We've all got smartphones, it's very easy to do. And I guess that's why we're here with our panellists this afternoon, at the time. Jemima Weber, you're a news writer for Live Kindly. One of the
it's on, here we go.
One of the biggest media outlets within the vegan movement, I guess.
It is. We've had the fastest growing reach of any online vegan media publication, which has been amazing. When they started about a year ago, we've reached over 600,000 likes on Facebook. So.
Can we get a cheer for that? That's a fantastic. And Christopher-Sebastian, I don't think he needs an introduction, he's doing it for 2 days.
And they can't shut me up. Here I am, what's on?
I think he's on to his third of 4 hours, possibly, is that right?
This is the 3rd hour already.
We're getting our money's worth, that's the main point. We're talking about veganism and how that's kind of become a huge deal on social media platforms, ironically, which is what we're talking about. How many of you know, for example, the Earthling Egg? Jerry Carter's one? Not popular everyone. Any other vegan YouTubers that you know shout them out?
John Venus, that's a good one. Aaron Janis. Who else did I hear?
So obviously, you all know vegan YouTubers. I guess my first question to both of you would be, how important is that sort of platform in pushing veganism?
Oh, obviously it's important from kind of a few different facets of that. So obviously offering that kind of community to people, especially new vegans, to kind of learn about their lifestyle, learn about how accessible it is, even things like recipes, and just kind of showing it as more mainstream. I think for a long time veganism was, so niche, was viewed as so extremist, and just to show like popular figures in the media kind of expressing these lifestyles, it just makes it seem more attainable, especially with people you already admire speaking about it. Yeah, it's that kind of community there.
I think that like YouTube is like important. I think YouTube is a double-edged sword. It's one of those things that like social media in general is a double-edged sword. It's one of those things that's a blessing and a curse. Because I noticed that one of the things that Jemima brought up was the accessibility. This is revolutionary for us. Like the fact that we have a platform or multiple platforms where we can have meaningful conversations about veganism, about plant-based diets, about animal rights, about all the ways that these things intersect with each other is like, it's invaluable. We have not had a way to bridge different communities and have conversations with people across different audiences before. And the way that some people have used social media has been tremendous. Recipes was another thing that we talked about. Is anybody familiar with the Bosch guys? Yeah, hugely popular. They did like a tremendous amount of work promoting free recipes online in really like well-stylized videos with ingredients that almost everybody can find. And then they released a cookbook like a year later, and it flew off the shelves. It's phenomenal. We actually have the Bosch cookbook as well at home.
Does anyone else have the Bosch cookbook?
Yeah, and all of these recipes are still available online. So there's been the use of social media and in particular YouTube to be able to find this content has revolutionized the way that we can reach people and show people the brilliant diversity of plant-based foods. But also there is a dangerous element to this as well. And I think that the way that some people use social media and some artists have used YouTube in particular has consequences too. So it's really difficult to mitigate those two things and to choose the type of content that we want to engage with.
Yeah, my next question was, do you think there are negative elements to the use of YouTube as a social media platform for veganism?
You were just about to talk about that, so I couldn't. I mean, obviously, there's that kind of, I think it gets at risk of becoming this kind of elite lifestyle. I think some people, and also it gets very perfect. It has to be a perfect kind of way of doing it, and that's, I don't know, I'm sure there's many different sides to this, but for me, the thing that I think is when people kind of showcase it as this, like, there's so much critique to it, and some, you know, like just the other week, avocados aren't vegan anymore, or like almonds aren't vegan, or there's so many things to it, and you know, I'm sure there's loads of different opinions about that, but social media gives that space for people to have that opinion, and for people to kind of critique whatever you're doing. So obviously YouTube is saying, I'm a vegan YouTuber, and it just opens up this like room for all of this negative energy. And I think it does deter people from that vegan lifestyle a bit because we can be viewed as very, very aggressive. Often it comes from that passionate side. It's like compassion is the groundwork for this whole movement, but it can easily turn into, so yeah, that's a risk of it, I guess, is that kind of extremist, elitist view almost. What were you going to say about that?
No, I was just going to ask, do you think that like that elitist position comes from like, you know, the people who are participating in conversations, or like is it something that you see in the way some of the videos themselves are crafted?
I think it's both, to be honest. I think it's not exclusively one or the other. Yeah, I don't know, what do you think?
Well, I mean, it's like, again, there's like so much, like you said, the stylized element of it, sometimes it's like, you know, it's overwhelming and it seems somewhat elitist and unattainable.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I have opened up Instagram and scrolled through 5 pages of Buddha bowls. I would be perfectly happy if I never saw a Buddha bowl again. It's just like, you know what, here's a bowl and I've got cereal in it. That's the thing that I do. And it's accompanied by maybe almond milk today and soy milk tomorrow. No one knows. And now it's mystery solved. But yeah, like, you know, the beautiful acai bowls and goji berries and like, you know, and I'm like, I just wonder what this looks like when people actually start eating it, because I have just not got the energy in my life to actually sit there and put perfect symmetrical vertical lines of all of my like fruits on top of my oats that's been sitting overnight. But yeah, like, that makes it really like that can potentially make it really overwhelming and like, you know, and create that like sort of exclusivity that turns people off or scares people. I also think there's like a cultural personality with like some of the channels that we look at that like, you know, that makes it really difficult for people to connect. And it's really interesting because sometimes I see people engaging online with certain persons or with certain channels or with certain platforms. Like, you know, we tend to have conversations about like, you know, oh, well, this person is like, you know, is doing amazing work, or they're doing this or that, or whatever, like, you know, whatever like things we have to say about them. And I think that sometimes we forget that we're viewing this person's content through already vegan eyes, and it's really difficult to like place ourselves, especially if we've been vegan for 14 years like I have, in the shoes or like, you know, in the perspective of someone who has not engaged with this before, or possibly engaged negatively with it, and what their takeaway with it is going to be, and how it might be different from our takeaways.
Do you think that the social media space in general, I mean, we mentioned some of the vegan YouTubers, some of them are white males. Do you think that that is a scene that's dominated by that? It's interesting, obviously, I think it's all women?
Yeah, it's a whole women team, which is quite, I mean, veganism is common, business not common, so it's an interesting kind of dynamic.
But what do you think about that in terms of the YouTube scene? A lot of YouTubers that I mentioned by the audience were white males.
Yeah, I think, I mean, any movement, it's important to have diversity, important to give a voice to different demographics, especially something, as you're saying, it can be quite elitist. And I read a bit on this on Twitter recently where you're kind of saying,
It's on Twitter now, yes.
Where you know, people say, oh, I can't afford to go vegan, which, you know, is definitely like, that's a difficult subject, but also you don't have to go and buy like all the different cheeses and all the different meats. Like, lentils are like 50p, and that's what I live on.
Well, you mentioned your Twitter, can I just get your Twitter handle? Because it's probably, if you don't follow Christopher-Sebastian on Twitter.
My Twitter handle is thoughts and prayers. If anyone knows what a thought is, you know why that's funny. If you do not, it's spelled THOT as in prayers. But yeah, I just full disclosure, like if you do follow my Twitter, I would be one of the aggressive vegans. So like, you know, just putting that out there, like there is, and you know, and speak very frankly and and very unapologetically oftentimes, because the communities that we reach are often very different. And the communities that I usually engage with are communities of people who are already tuned in to environmental justice, to the realities of anti-Black racism, to the realities of gendered violence, and and all of these things usually are to the exclusion of animal violence, and the ways that animal violence actually exacerbates all of the issues that we already want to address. And and understanding veganism, and not just anti-speciesism, but understanding veganism as a multi-problem solver is absolutely necessary. And so I do speak very unapologetically, and and I provide factual information to back all of these things up. And sometimes the response is negative, sometimes the response is positive. Overwhelmingly, it's been positive. And that's not just from people who are already vegan. Like, I actually get a lot of messages from people who are saying, I really appreciate the frankness that, that you talk with. And I also kept in my 4-letter words. I'm trying my best to refrain from that. I'm pretty certain that, at some point, I'm going to drop an F-bomb during this, and then it's going to be on film. Forever. But, I hope that you all can forgive me for that.
I think, though, it's important to have the frankness of it as well, because different kind of approaches are going to connect with different people in different ways. Like, Live Kindly, our target audience is non-vegans, and which isn't overly common in the vegan space. Obviously, lots of stuff is tailored to an already vegan audience, like you're saying, but ours is people who eat meat, vegetarians, flexitarians, whatever else, and so we kind of go for this underlying, we try to be very inclusive, we try to, in the brief of this it mentions the graphic depictions of violence, and we don't delve into that really. I do in my personal activism, but with Live Kindly, it's very much the showing the positive, the showing the accessibility. And that does connect with some people in some ways, but other people, it's kind of nice to be told, what are you doing? Think about what you're doing, because that connected with me when someone kind of just said that to my face. I was like, you're right.
I am curious though, can you, since you are representing Live Kindly here, can you tell us more about what sets Live Kindly apart? What makes Live Kindly unique in the space of the vegan media apparatus?
So I think, is the main thing that kind of who we're targeting, and also that whole focus on compassion, because there are so many great vegan media outlets, but lots of them are focused on news, which is super important as well. I think we all have our place in that community. Some outlets will be reporting what's happened, and something with a slaughterhouse, something with animal violence, and we will tend to not showcase that news, but instead say, this legislation has just been passed, the greyhound racing to be banned in Canberra, or something like that. It's more the positive outcomes of it, or I don't know. We still will address the important issues, and the UN report that said that tackling meat is the most urgent problem of the environment right now. That's important to say. But we'll do it in a way that's and here's how you can get involved, and here's how you can help, rather than making it seem like this massive, confronting, well, what can I possibly do about that,
You mentioned inclusivity there. In terms of the YouTube space, is it difficult, because obviously if you mention a certain YouTuber or certain YouTubers, then you do get a certain amount of traffic, and it's finding that balance. How difficult is it to find that balance?
It is difficult, and it's an interesting thing, because most of our content that's focused on celebrities always gets better engagement than our other content, which is, I find frustrating, because it'll, be vegan celebrity Miley Cyrus breathed, and everyone will flock to the post. We'll get 3,000 likes.
She does that.
She does. And then there'll be something else that's, something that, as a writer, you're writing about it, and you find it so important. It might be the ice melting in Antarctica being linked to egg production, and you write this long, heartfelt piece on it, and it gets 50 likes.
Crickets.
Yeah. But that's just, in that way, it's important to use what we've got. If that's how our society is driven right now, to care about celebrities, care about what they're doing, thinking, eating, breathing, then we kind of just have to use that.
And Christopher-Sebastian, do you think that's a good thing for a band to?
Oh, this is a really tough one, because when you get into conversations about celebrity veganism, that's for me, that's a really major sticking point. Because for me, like looking at the culture of celebrity worship that we have in larger society, and like and examining that from a micro perspective within our community, it is enormously frustrating because like when we take these people and that largely have these massive platforms that are sometimes pretty toxic, and we share their platforms. When we share those spaces, we have to ask ourselves, like, what's the benefit of this versus what is the, like, I already know what you're gonna do. Like, what's the benefit of this versus, like, what the possible consequences of them are. And this is like Logan Paul, like for example, like every vegan, every like part of the vegan media apparatus actually like talks about Logan Paul.
Does everyone know who Logan Paul is?
Consider yourself so fortunate. We're about to ruin your lives. Like Logan Paul is a YouTube celebrity. He like is famous for like he started on Vine, I believe, and then Vine fell by the wayside. But I know, right?
Bring it back.
We should bring that back. But he became a massive YouTube star. And like what's really interesting about like watching the meteoric rise of Logan Paul for myself is that like he would do sometimes very reckless, sometimes very like untoward things, and I think in January or February, like he had been complicit in doing some not just complicit, he personally did some incredibly racially insensitive things. And ironically, about a month after that, like he was criticized by mainstream animal rights organizations for tasering rats. And then magically, Logan Paul had gone vegan. Aside from the audience of gas, shock of all shocks. How do we have conversations about that responsibly? That's a thing for me, and I do feel like we have a lot of growth as a community in learning how to do that, because we have a tendency, and this is part of the media problem, but this is also an individual problem. We have a tendency of imagining that because someone has gone vegan, that sort of mitigates or otherwise cancels out on harm that they have caused. And so we celebrate someone's veganism, and at the same time, we kind of say, we kind of rationalize or justify that celebration of their newfound veganism by saying that oh, look at the platform that this person has, and look at the number of people that they can reach. And if we accept that they have the capacity to reach a certain number of people because they have this platform, we should also bear in mind that this person or persons also has the capacity to turn a bunch of people off at the same time, because now, we're basically saying that you've given them a pass on racism, or xenophobia, or sexism, or insensitivity to people with mental disorders, any number of things. And so there is how does one strike that balance? How do we make that part of the conversation instead of just universally saying that that this person's gone vegan and it's great news, without mentioning all of the other dangerous things that are part of that person's persona or their platform as well.
Do you think Logan Paul's vegan anymore? He's not.
I find the balance by not avoiding it. I think that when we personally I don't have a large platform. I don't work for any of the mainstream vegan groups. And I can't speak for that. But for myself personally, I know that it is really tempting to engage with this because, like you said, this gets engagement. When Miley Cyrus agrees, it goes viral. It's a huge thing. And so yeah, we want to we want to have a conversation about that. We want to we want to get that engagement. But we have to think about what the consequences of that are. And for me, the consequences don't they don't match the short-term gain by actually, and I know that other people are probably going to disagree with this, and that's fine, you should disagree about these things. But for me, like that short-term gain, of that engagement does not outweigh the harm that this person or these persons have caused. And so, yeah, like I don't, I take a wait-and-see attitude about people who profess their veganism, just like I take a wait-and-see attitude about people who say yes, it's not racist anymore. I'm like, oh well, we'll see about that in a couple of months. But yeah, it's because that's a thing that happens. People are not always responsible. And yeah, I believe that we should actually engage with how people are and how they've shown themselves to be, rather than what they said this week. Because that is, that's the long-term thing that I think is much more important.
Do you know how he announced that he was no longer vegan? He posted an Instagram video of himself dancing around with an animal carcass. I don't think it's been cooked or whatever, but that's how it happened. Jemima, sorry, I realised that you haven't kind of spoken on that
I'm
topic.
just nodding along to everything you're saying. No, I agree, and I think that someone's choice to go vegan, regardless of their reach, regardless of that person's not consuming animal products, which is great. Obviously, it doesn't mitigate their personality. That's Logan Paul's personality is driving what he's doing and saying. And I think, the fact that I remember when that happened, and I don't even remember whether we covered it or not, but I remember we had.
I think you actually did.
Yeah, I remember it was a discussion that we had within the team whether we should or not, and I don't remember whether we did, but yeah, that's it. It's just one of those things, isn't it, where you can't we're not going to celebrate something like that. Difficult.
What goes into, if you can talk about that, what goes into those conversations? Because, I have had conversations with people retroactively in different news outlets, and it's never the same. It's never the same. How does one decide, what we're going to cover and how we're going to cover it?
It's quite, I'm just deciding whether I'm sure I'm allowed to say that. It's quite, a story will be approved. The whole team, it's quite collaborative. The whole team will kind of put forward ideas from what we see in the media or what we see happening with personalities or companies. So it's quite collaborative, and then there's a final decision about whether or not to take on the story. But the angle of it will very much be from the writer's perspective, unless it's something a bit, on the edge. For instance, if there's human trafficking within the egg industry or something really awful, then there'll be some direction there, just so that nothing is said in an inappropriate way or anything that can be offensive. But yeah.
Is it difficult to choose when to give an opinion, when to have a passive voice? Say if Donald Trump says something positive about vegans, what would you do about that? Would you just not?
That was something that came into my head with the Logan Paul, because I think something like that, I'm looking at my colleague Charlotte is over there. I think something like that did happen with Donald Trump, and I can't remember if it was quite near the Logan Paul thing. He's something about veganism, and there was a discussion about whether to cover it, and we didn't. But yeah.
So you would just not cover it, you wouldn't critique it, you would just be like,
we would sometimes, and that's when that kind of passive voice would have to come through, obviously, just to, say with, if we're talking about the egg industry, for instance, at the end, we might talk about, alternatives to eggs that you could have, which obviously isn't like a reporting style thing to do. That's a very good, kindly thing to do. We'll talk about why the egg industry is bad, and then at the end, alternatives to eggs, vegan egg brands, and so on. So
providing people with actual, not just sharing information, but providing people with direction.
Otherwise, people will just read that and think, it's just too confronting for a lot of people, especially non-vegans. That's just so much to take in. Whereas if you get to the end of that, and there's a solution, then there's a goal as well. So there's,
Christopher-Sebastian, what would you do if Donald Trump said something nice about you?
I would write about it, and I would say, screw this guy. I don't care what he has to say nice about veganism. No one should ever listen to what this person says, because there's definitely an agenda behind it, and it's never good. Ever. It's consistently bad. So yeah, I would want to make sure that whatever it is that he says, it's it's not listened to. Even if Donald Trump said that I think all poor people should should have houses and health care. I would say I'd be suspicious because this is not coming from a good place. This has never come from a good place, and I am quite certain this person did not have that with me last night.
So Donald Trump's just become the face of all evil now, isn't he?
Pretty much. And he's been that way for pretty much 2 years consistently that he's been in office, and all of the years that came before that. that. So I feel like his track record having been firmly established, and like, you know, just like scroll through his Twitter feed. I believe the Library of Congress has it all in the States, like catalog.
You know why he's in my head? Because Carol Adams yesterday said you can't be vegan and support Trump. You can only be plant-based. I wonder what, that's kind of off topic, but I wonder what you guys thought of that.
Oh, starting with me, okay.
One of you.
I rock Carol Adams. I don't think she's ever said anything that I overtly disagree with. Like, no, like, I do think that, like, you know, you can't be vegan and, you know, and support Donald Trump. In fact, I actually had written about that. Like, I had specifically written about that, not with Donald Trump in mind, but with, like, you know, the idea of veganism being part of a progressive ideology. And so, for me, now that I'm thinking about this, like, yeah, this is, like, not specific to Donald Trump, but, like, you know, but conservatism itself is, like, you know, it's couched in regressive politics for me. Like, you know, like the idea of animal liberation, like, liberal is literally in the name. Like, you can't escape that. And the idea that one can be vegan and be, like, you know, and be a Trump supporter is completely inconsistent with me, especially considering the policies that this person supports. Like, he supports policies of, like, you know, of agricultural gas laws. He supports the idea of building a wall on the United States southern border, which separates human families and animal families. He is against, like, you know, like refugees or migrant people coming from other parts of the world that have been disadvantaged specifically by U.S. imperialist policies, and they're coming to the United States from other parts of the world because the places that they live in have been made uninhabitable, in part because of the United States. And when their homes have been made uninhabitable, so have the homes of thousands, if not millions, of non-human persons who also live there. So that, you know, that inhospitality extends across like racial and species communities. So yeah, you know, if your veganism is a Trumpian veganism, it is like, it's not consistent with, like, you know, the doctrine of veganism, if there is a quote doctrine that, like, you know, that has largely been accepted in the, like, main vegan community of consistent anti-aggression. It just simply is not. And so, like, you know, it is, like, at best a plant-based diet. So I would agree with Carol on that.
Yeah, I would agree with a lot of what you said as well. I think someone being vegan is generally a good indicator of whether or not you'll get along with that person. And just because there's lots of those core values there, like you said, like if you care about veganism, you more often than not also care about the environment, and you also care about, you know, social issues, because it's so tied into poverty, it's so tied into waste, water use, so many things that it's, I don't know, to me you can't really pull away from those subjects, and so Trump obviously is, yeah. I feel like it's a bit of a contradiction almost, but I'm curious if there's any. I saw some people leaving. I was like, any Trump supporters? Tell us your feelings.
Has anyone got a MAGA hat here? Worth a try.
Do we have a MAGA hat in the room? Like, that would be, like, amazing. Like, let's have that conversation.
There's no right-wing veganism room in cinema.
Oh, okay.
Build one next time.
Yeah.
Next time. Build a wall through this one. Going back to the YouTube space, is it difficult to hold not just YouTube, but I guess social media outlets, social media, people that run social media to account in the vegan media? Because they do have this loyal fan base. I guess it's not really a vegan question, it's kind of a question of the rise of social media in general.
Holding people account, like, in the vegan community, or like,
yeah, like if a certain YouTuber does something wrong, I suppose it's difficult to hold them accountable doing that, because it seems like, oh, you're saying negative things about veganism in general, and people don't appreciate that.
Yes, actually, like, it's not difficult for me because I feel like it's a very clear line, and holding people accountable is important. It's part of what we're supposed to do. But it seems to be a problem in the larger community. It seems to be like, you know, if this person's vegan, like, they add up a theoretical number of, quote, animals that have been saved, and that number is never legit, because there's, like, it is impossible to quantify theoretical animals that, like, you know, that don't exist yet. And also, like, there's no way to, like, you know, to like, analyze in any quantitative or qualitative way what impact this person is having, like, you know, toward the, quote, saving of animals that do actually exist. So yeah, like people do need to be held accountable, but it's incredibly difficult because, like, largely we want to protect people in our community who are vegan, like from critique, and and that I feel like is a mistake. Like we want people to be better. At the end of the day, we want people to be better. We're challenging people to be better every day when we talk to them about anti-speciesism, when we talk to them about veganism, when we talk to them about like the use of natural resources, about the environmental racism that is involved in in a non-vegan lifestyle. We have to do the same thing to the people that are in our community too. And and I feel like we collectively don't do a great job of it.
Can I bring you in there? Personally, I was hard and kindly with it.
No, I got a bit sidetracked there. I was spending the whole. I think it ties back into as well is that we want to protect that image of veganism being perfect, and every person who's vegan is perfect, and it's almost it's just this bizarre illusion of like no, this is fine, like everything's great over here, and it's like sometimes it does mess up, like, and sometimes there's mistake. I don't know, we're all human beings, and like you said, you have to be held accountable for your actions. There's no one-size-fits-all excuse or like weird cloak shielding you from the repercussions. So yeah.
Got up again, which means I'm putting on the next slide.
Move the slide.
Like a Paul staring into the soul.
This is not
the next one. Talking about perfect veganism. This is Claire. She's your.
Yeah, something that I've noticed and we talk about a lot is that a lot of the kind of online, any kind of online like social justice stuff, but also veganism, is very American-centric, it's very US-centric, and I was just wondering if you wanted to comment or talk about like how that kind of cult of celebrity is very wrapped up with kind of what I think seems very American way of presenting oneself, presenting certain issues, and how that might influence. Like for example, when I want to talk to people about food justice stuff, a lot of resources that I find and people that I want to share are American, and that doesn't really apply to people who are British or European. And I was just wondering how you think that kind of cult celebrity and also the American kind of style of celebrity influences these conversations online.
What are your questions? Oh, me go. Oh, okay. I don't disagree with what you said. Like that's a common critique that I hear from people. That like actually I'm gonna stand up a little because I can't see you. Like that's a common critique that I hear from people because like coming from the United States, I do think that there is an innate danger in in presenting so much of our activism and so many of our academic and scholarly resources as coming from the U.S. because I spend a tremendous amount of time over here in the UK. And one of the dangers of that is that when I engage with everyday people outside of the animal rights and mainstream vegan community, and I talk about issues that have to do with with environmental justice and with animals, so far as rights and welfare, people steer the conversation towards welfare. Because one of the chief things that I hear from people is that never happened. The U.S. is the leader in everything terrible. The industrial machine of animal agriculture is completely out of control, and there are few, if any, welfare standards. The ones that they do have are completely ignored or have been bought by lobbyists. Agricultural gag laws, which are the laws that prevent people from actually engaging in meaningful activism on farms, prevent people from just criminalize the activity of filming and showing what the violence realistically looks like. And my understanding is that it doesn't present in the same way here. And that allows people to avoid culpability because it's our kitchen is not as dirty as your kitchen, so therefore our kitchen doesn't need cleaning. Those dishes can sit in the sink until next week. And that's the sort of attitude that people adopt about that. And my response to it is to decentralize a lot of the resources that I use in academic conversations and look for sources that do more largely pertain to the rest of the Western world. But the caveat to that is that I do focus on the Western world overwhelmingly. Because when you do look at the percentage of people who live in the global west, we make up the minority of people who are, like, the world's population. But we're the majority of the people who are causing such massive devastation around the globe. So we do have a direct responsibility, and the U.S. is usually much worse than everyone else. I think that there's a statistic that's floating around out there that's saying that one of the biggest global polluters is the U.S. military. That's our imperialism. And that, that needs to be addressed. So yeah, that is a caveat to this, and that, we do have a unique responsibility because we are one of the chief people that create the problem. But that doesn't let anybody else off the hook. And so yeah, I do look for, the resources that, that are more global. When I do presentations here, I usually include content that is from the UK government. It also forces me to work harder as an academic because now I have to not just focus on anti-speciesism and anti-black racism from a U.S. perspective, which is a very unique perspective, but now I have to look at the history of of the British Empire, and now and it opens up a world of other things that that inform my position on speciesism and how it relates to racism. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts in that one. So I'm really glad you asked that question.
I don't have anything to add. That was great. That's what's in the audience. Look at me.
Any more questions?
What are your thoughts on freely banana girl? I only know of her. I don't know enough about this. So it's like the controversy. She just eats bananas. Is that right?
Yeah. Okay, I'm trying to think of how to describe Freely in 3 sentences or less. Freely the banana girl and her partner Yuri Lighter have been, I love these names by the way. They had been a part of the vegan community and a part of the vegan media apparatus for years now. And they had monetized their quote activism, if we're calling it that, to great success. There's a tremendous amount of illiteracy around science, a tremendous amount of body shaming, and there has been homophobic and anti-queer violence in their conversations as well. I don't hear so much about them anymore. To my knowledge, they split up and they are no longer together. But yeah, we just have conversations about people who profit off of the off of the YouTube machine. They profited tremendously, and and it comes at a great loss to our community because these are people who who made money from veganism and who have largely failed educating people in any meaningful way through through their body shaming, through their their ableism, through the incredible damage that they have done to the vegan message. And also, you should not eat 30 bananas a day. That's just not something that I would recommend anybody do. So yeah, there's a lot to be said about that. But like I said, thankfully, I feel like they have kind of receded from the public eye largely, and that may probably have a lot to do with the fact that they cashed in their chips and made all the money that they can make. So that's satisfactory.
Have we got any other questions from the audience? Yes, we can see this.
Hi. First of all, your mind discovery of history is fantastic. I would just speak to you over this morning. So. And then apparently freedom of non-good is well upgraded. I'm very thankful for that. I just wonder, a lot of the celebrities that we're seeing, I feel like they're talking about veganism and the fact that it's just distilling it down to diet. So they're really plant-based and they're using the term vegan all the time, and I think that's why we see a lot of these celebrities go vegan and then say they're no longer vegan. It's just literally it's down to diet. So I think when you get celebrities that are ethical vegan, as in they've moved to veganism from a state of compassion for animal liberation, that I don't hear of them ever changing their stance, they remain vegan. So it's really what can we do to best promote that sort of stream veganism, and in terms of veganism, it's supposed to be about the practical least amount of harm practically possible in a modern world, and that's not anything to do about diet.
No, that's such a great point, and I definitely agree with you. And I think with your question, what we could do, it's difficult, but maybe the best thing that, is just kind of promote the people that are ethical vegans, and really, the first person that came to mind is Miley Cyrus, because she is a great activist, and she does speak out about, adults don't shop in the environment, and she speaks about diet as well, but there is more of that, a lot of animal welfare stuff. Whereas some other celebrities that are just, vegan, I'm trying to think of, I think Zac Efron went vegan recently, but I'm sure that's just a health fitness reason I don't recall him speaking about. And maybe, at least in Live Kindly, then when those people are calling themselves vegan, there's room for us to say, so far they haven't spoken about animal welfare in the environment, they've just talked about the health benefits, but, and kind of give that space to educate people. Because, yeah, you're right, there is this massive misunderstanding about it, where people just see kind of the top of the iceberg there, and they don't understand that there's so much going on underneath. And I think that's something you learn about yourself as you go vegan. When I went vegan, I didn't know anything about, I don't know, it was an animal welfare thing, but the longer you go, the more you learn about the terrible environmental consequences, and there's just so much there, and the poverty and the racism involved, there's so much there. It's a constant, it's not an end goal, it's not just like, okay, I'm done, I'm vegan, I know everything. You're always learning, so it's good for us to kind of open that up to everyone else as well. Yeah.
I'm really glad that you said that last part about veganism is not an end goal, because that echoes exactly what Carol Adams was talking about yesterday. Talking in the conversation, I think following on from Protest Kitchen, that was a thing that had come up, and there was this general agreement in the room that veganism is the starting point, not the finish line, and and that's something that a lot of us have kind of gotten reversed. It's you know what, I've met my ethical obligation, I've gone vegan, and I am not a terrible person anymore, and that just is so it's so that's so glaringly inaccurate, and it's incredibly disappointing whenever I see people who engage that way. But I do agree with Jemima that the best way to combat that is to is to promote people who are ethically vegan, but also make sure that we do hold those people accountable. Miley Cyrus is one of them, and acknowledge that people are imperfect. Holding someone accountable is not there's this kind of false binary that we've constructed that holding someone accountable automatically means that they're trash and they're forever trash. And it's no, you did a bad thing. You should recognize that the thing that you did was bad, why it's bad, and adjudicate for it. It doesn't mean that we kind of just take on the critique as as this universal judgment about us as people. People do racist things all the time. Hey, you did a racist thing. Well, and you would think that I just talked about their mother and accused them of wearing a white hood and knocking on my front door with burning crosses, and that's absolutely not what I did. And we just kind of make those associations. So another celebrity that comes to mind when you were saying that, because I was mentally trying to go through my catalog ethically. I know, and I'm well, who can I think of off the top of my head? One of those people is Kat Von D.
Just thought when you were talking as well.
No, right? That's exactly. It's easier to think about it when someone else is talking. Kat Von D is one of those people that is ethically vegan. Kat Von D is also one of those people who has made mistakes in talking about race. She should be held accountable for that. What's really funny is that in attempting to hold people accountable or even have a conversation with people about accountability, you end up being the person who is villainized for how dare you judge them and how can you say terrible things about that. I just recognize a way in which this person is not perfect, and I would like them to be better. I challenge them to be better, and it's and people come to chop me at me for saying something. And it's wow, I didn't deserve that chopping. So it's one of those that right? I couldn't think of anything else. It's it's a thing that totally happens, but it's a necessary part of our engagement.
So I don't become a vegan next and you give it a vegan.
Sorry?
Has anyone got any more questions?
He gets two.
Yeah, yay. I suppose just for me to try to understand it in a very simple way, I think one of the most fundamental things of this is that it's, means and end. So what's serving what? So with some of these personalities, they're using veganism to serve the end of their own celebrity, whereas if you've got somebody who's got a platform and they're using that to serve veganism in its truest form, then it's healthy. But when they're using it the other way around to serve their own uplift or whatever it is, or clickbait or whatever, at least when, like you say, if people have flaws, fine. But at least if they're coming from a sincere place and they're trying to be authentic, I don't know, does that help for?
Yeah, I think that's an important point. I think there is a difference. Of course, nothing is ever completely binary. There's a huge difference in people who are using their platforms to do something transformative, and people who are using their platforms to a selfish or self-aggrandizing act. And and making that distinction is a key part. But also the people who are genuinely using their platforms to to do something transformative, to do something important. It's equally important to hold them accountable. I can tell you right now, I have a big mouth, I talk all the time, and I get messages from people who are pulling me aside and saying, that thing you did the other day was not cool. And it's important, and you have to be able to take that on board. And you have to be responsible with these things. You don't always get it right. Recognize that we're not always going to get it right. And one of the things that I think that is really great is that when I see organizations, when I see people with large platforms, when I see parts of the vegan media apparatus who take on critique and and make a conscious shift, and you see people course correct, and that's so necessary. That's so important. And validating that and recognizing that when people do course correct, it just it helps in the end. It helps our organizations be better. It helps our community to be better. And everyone wins from this. I've never seen somebody course correct from doing something that was overtly or even passively horrible, and and they suffer for it. I've never seen that happen. Literally. And I can say that very definitively. It's always the reverse. But I have seen people or groups that have been consistently awful and just choose to be consistently awful, and I've seen that the damage that it does to the community as a whole, and to that organization, and ultimately to the victims that we're advocating for. So, yeah.
And Jemima, you want to comment on that as well?
Again, I'm just enjoying the exchange. No, I think you're completely right, and I think that's something that you can put on yourself on an individual level within people you actually know, but then also that extends to the organizations, like you said. When people in the public eye course correct, then it's so influential, and I guess it's good to just kind of acknowledge what's happened. Yeah, that's interesting.
Any more questions from the audience?
Hello. I think everyone, for me, I find people's approach to veganism varies from where you are in your life and how old you are. But clearly anything online, particularly on YouTube, it doesn't have the limitations like cinema house or television or alcohol or, even talking about sex with children and their parents. So, is there a way you can communicate to different age ranges of people? Because how you speak to a 10-year-old about veganism is different to how you speak to a 20-year-old, to a 30-year-old, to a 50-year-old, or to someone who's in their 60s who can eat the whole life. How I see that as so important in terms of how you communicate to the different levels of people of race, but certainly from an age perspective, because I see that getting confused sometimes. And it's how I haven't heard this maybe before. Clearly, but the age of the people that are watching her, I would presume, are of a certain age range, and people that don't. So it's a big question, I guess. But is there a format that can be formed where veganism can be broken down like that? That helps the movement in a way.
I feel like what you're talking about is targeted demographics, a marketing thing. And it is something that I think absolutely needs to be taken into consideration. How to do that over digital media is a huge challenge. Because you can't necessarily control who is going to view your content. And and I know that my Twitter feed is going to fall foul of people who absolutely are going to read this and say, well, this person's just playing me. And they're right. And that they would not be incorrect. But yeah, you can't control where your content is going to end up. But you should definitely recognize who your target group is, or the group of people that you are trying to communicate to, because I find that the broader your messages, and this is people are going to make this, they make this mistake all the time, because it seems to run against conventional wisdom. The broader your message is, the more worthless it is. You have to be targeting somebody in your conversation. If you're just talking in general terms, and you're saying, people wear shirts, that's how general your activism is. It is bland, it's pointless, it doesn't really help anybody. So you have to target people on some level. But how that manifests or what that looks like is going to be different depending on the organization. I know who my target groups are. I know who the people are that are going to resonate with the type of message that I got. And I assume the same is true of the kindly, but I'm going to let Jemima take it over now to talk about that.
That's such an interesting point, and I think that because I don't think we really have an age demographic that we aim for, but it's such a curious point because especially with veganism, it's driven by millennials. The largest percentage of the demographic that are vegan are millennials. I guess it's slightly older. I don't think it's necessarily. Yeah, maybe between 20 and 30 in my head. But that's just my opinion.
Is it largely? I've got two more questions. Is it largely male or female? And do you think the fact that you have, consistently, and I assume, intentionally created, a space that is, empowered by women, to be on staff, is that an influencing factor? And do you see, the trend reflected in your engagement? Is it largely male or female or somewhere in between?
That's interesting. I'm changing my answer I'm changing that to 20 to 50 or something, by the way.
A larger age.
I noticed your reaction. I didn't think about that. I thought, what am I saying? No, I think, I haven't seen the figures of the male female, and so I'm just thinking about the commenters that we've seen, and it does seem quite equal. I think veganism can be a bit, usually largely mostly females, which is interesting.
Right.
And I've seen other publications who have male staff and mainly male-driven talk about why there's this lack of male. I'm saying this because there's a lot of men in this room, which is ironic, but generally in vegan spaces it is quite dominated by women. I've found at least, and there's a lot of research has, even in January this year, there's only 13% of women that signed up or something like that, but it has increased every year. The first year they did it was only 6% or something, and then it's slowly gone up, but that's still massively dominated by females. And so there's this interesting conversation of why that is happening and what kind of, like you said, maybe subconsciously we're creating a space that is tailored to women because we're writing from a female voice. But yeah.
As we talk, of course, in this binary of masculine and feminine is of other people don't exist. But that obviously should be addressed as well. And for all of us, because of course, like I said, we all have to create a space where all of us are responsible for doing better.
It's almost like we haven't even thought about it in a gender way for that reason, because obviously it's just, we're all people, it's not a male or female thing in terms of, I forget where that question came from, but yeah, we got a bit sidetracked. Age, gender.
Yeah. We've got maybe time for one or two more questions.
With the emergence of social media, of course, we've gotten many more channels to spread our message, but it has also brought something like clicktivism, and I see that the term clicktivism, the click, and I've done my activism for today, and I also see, I especially see it on Facebook, and it's like a really inner circle of vegans sharing vegan articles, and it's always the same people liking it, and it stays in the same circle of people. So instead of reaching more people, I think it has developed into a situation that it always stays into the same circle of people. And also the collectivism that people now get the idea, oh, I've shared a vegan article, and I've shared an article about animal rights, and I've done my activism for today. So how can we use social media, and then it's not really about YouTube, but like Facebook, how can we use that more to get people more involved in activism again? And I'm not talking about the stereotypical idea of activism that it has to be street activism, but activism but beyond collectivism.
Great, I love that question. I'm not sure, I think that's really important, like you said. There is such that culture. I mean, you said two interesting things there, which is that the messages are spread only within vegan communities, and so all we're really doing is just giving ourselves a pat on the back. Like, yep, great, seen that, good for me, I'm doing excellently. And then there's, what's the point then? Because if the main goal is that more people are eating fewer animal products, we're not really achieving that then, are we? And then that idea of what more can we do? And I don't know. I don't have an answer to that in my head. Do you?
Everything that you said was just making me, it was just turning me on in all the right ways. Because everything that you said was just such a necessary part of the conversation. I have a catalog of talks on media literacy for animal rights. And part of this media literacy in the digital age is understanding collectivism exactly as you described it. It does become like a very small circle of people. We often look at videos in terms of, oh, look at this video has X number of views, and so we just make this sort of inaccurate assumption that that means that X number of people who are not vegans have now been exposed to this content. And then we extrapolate that to mean that X number of people have either gone vegan or are considering it. And we have no conceptualization of what happens behind the curtain of social media. Because realistically, most people don't watch these videos for very long. I think when you look at the statistics for Facebook, Facebook counts a view as only 3 seconds. And YouTube only counts a view as marginally more. So people have notoriously short attention spans. And at the risk of giving away free information, I think that we need to be smarter about the content that we create and distribute. Because we should be, if we're talking specifically about the creation of videos, we should be making shorter videos. And we should be mindful about what platforms we're posting these videos on, because Facebook videos are different from YouTube videos. And in one of the pieces that I have written, that's on my blog, talking about digital media, Facebook, we think of YouTube as the big game that's out there so far as content, video content. Facebook is poised right now to overtake YouTube as the primary platform for sharing and viewing video content, which means that Facebook is the biggest game in town. So if your Facebook engagement is minimal or isn't desirable, then your engagement across the board is probably going to be lacking. There's a lot to talk about in that question, and so much to address. But yeah, so far as collectivism, we have to be mindful that no, our activism is not limited to the clicks that we get, or the charities that we share, or the things that we sign online, it's not limited to that. We need to be having larger conversations about what it means to engage people, online and offline. I hate using the phrases in real life versus online, because online is also real life, and it really diminishes people who don't have access to other forms of engagement. But online and offline as well, we do have the capacity to be able to do that, but we're not very responsible or innovative about doing that, and that has to change. So yeah, we do have to find ways to do that, and at the risk of doing a whole presentation about that digital media literacy, I'll just stop right there. We can talk about it later on. I'm sure you've got an email address.
We've probably got time for maybe one more question if anyone has one.
Oh, we're losing people because it's going on.
Panel fatigue, we've got one more.
Mine's not, I guess, a question, because the question about male participation in veganism come up more than once this afternoon. And it seems that a lot of people are still missing or are afraid to engage males in the basic ethics and the reasoning behind veganism, the social justice issue of, you know, the fact that we deny social justice to animals altogether, and the fact that males have traditionally been the providers and the destroyers of all things in order to build themselves up or appear masculine or literally bring home the bacon. And so we've always just perceived masculinity as having to destroy things and animals, things as the environment and animals as persons, and that is you know, considered the way it is. And if you aren't doing that, or if you go vegan, it's just not masculine. And I think we need to be educating males in general that masculinity is far more important in terms of being able to protect and defend things that go wrong in humanity and the terrible things that we do in humanity, and that that's what strength is, not crushing and destroying and you know, making profit from defenceless creatures and an environment that can't fight back. And that's not taught in schools or, you know, or in a lot of platforms. It's not really focused on. And I think maybe that's where a lot of people, particularly people that have these platforms, could be looking into. And, you know, because, yeah, we need a hell of a lot more than 10-13% of men, you know, being vegan. We need men to get the point that, you know, it is far more masculine to be, you know, nurturing and defending these issues. That's basically all I wanted to say.
Redefining masculinity, we absolutely have to.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, our conception of masculinity, the way that it exists in Western society right now, is incredibly toxic.
Yeah.
And I think Justin Van Cleef of Triangle Change for All Sanctuary has written a brilliant piece about this, like 2 years ago, I think, on tribal systems, talking about that topic specifically. And I'm just like, you know, I'm paraphrasing here, but he, like I said, in no uncertain terms, very unapologetically, that, like, you know, I don't, like, we currently kind of feel like men need to be protected from veganism by, like, you know, framing it in a way that doesn't damage the fragility of their masculinity. And, like, he just kind of kicked in the door on that and said, I will be very frank about this. Like, I don't want to protect masculinity. Masculinity does not deserve our protection. Like, you know, it needs to be completely redefined, destroyed, and then built again from the bottom up, because the current institutions, the way that they exist, are only about destruction. And so, yeah, that needs to change. And we do need a hell of a lot more than 10 to 13%. Like, you know, whether it's in January or in our movement. But I also think that there's something incredibly powerful about the fact that, like, you know, this is a movement that is largely led by women. And that hasn't changed in, like, you know, a lot, like, in those dynamics and in those numbers over the past 2 decades. And I'm incredibly proud to be a part of, like, a movement that is led by women, because I'm damn tired of, like, guys stepping in as saviors and, like, you know, and doing damage, like, you know, largely where, like, you know, where women have consistently proven themselves to be doing the heavy lifting for ages and ages. So, like, and I say all of that as I'm talking over a woman right here. Like, Jemima, I want you to, like, give us some closing words.
No, that's great. I think that's a really important point that you said. It's difficult because I feel like that issue with male involvement it's almost like a problem with the system, not necessarily in the vegan movement. All those things that you said, though, that trickles into so many different facets. It's not, yeah, so it's an important thing. And I see, you know, Men's Health, like the largest men's magazine in the world, they've started kind of, you know, they had like the vegan athlete on the cover a few times, which is a big deal for, you know, for that kind demographic, it's a big deal to promote like fit, strong, masculine men for that audience. But it's just that at the moment, that's the way people are trying to engage men, is by saying, look at these vegan athletes, like look at all these NBA players, look at these, and there are so many, and it's great to do that. But yeah, I think obviously that's such a deep issue. It also comes into actually changing how we're raising children and how we're at society in general. That's deep, but
I'm sure there's a bodybuilding room somewhere. Thank you very much for that panel, for Jemima and Christopher-Sebastian as well. Round of applause for them guys. And I'm not if you want to see any of that again, it might be on YouTube soon. So yeah, thank you very much. Steve Mahulis has been a great talk at about 4 o'clock. Until then, coffee, come back to this room. We'll be playing some great R&B for the next half an hour, so enjoy yourself.